Hello everyone, this is Justin with Davie Resource Group's GIS IT Software Research and Development Group. I want to take a few minutes to share with you the equipment tracking mechanisms that we've incorporated into TimeKeeper. What this mechanism will allow our employees to do is, as they're logging time to an activity, they can choose the equipment that they utilized doing that activity. This will allow us to calculate a total hours that the equipment was in use. For vehicles, when the employee goes to submit their timesheet for approval, they will be prompted with an opportunity to enter their end mileage. They will not need to enter their start mileage if the vehicle had been used in the past and has a determined end mileage from prior timesheets. And then finally, this information is included in the employee's timesheet report. What I'll do with this particular demonstration is I'll come at it from a general user's perspective, how to actually mark what equipment you use in a particular activity, and then we'll look at the reports, and then finally, as a supervisor, how do I manage the equipment associated with my employee. So, as a general user, when I come into TimeKeeper, I want to first bring your attention to this new option up here in your profile. So if I go into Preferences, I can see that I have 3 pieces of equipment associated with my user, and Toyota Tacoma and a Panasonic ToughPad are automatically going to be defaulted as marked on when I go to log an activity. So we'll go into an actual timesheet view and we'll add a activity to this day here, Monday. And I'll do ALB Ohio survey work, and I did survey, and let's say that I spent 8 hours doing that survey. And now you can see where the equipment that I had used has been pre-selected for me. This is from my profile settings. You know, perhaps I did actually utilize a 4-wheeler while I did this work, maybe I didn't. So you can just check on and off the equipment that you actually utilized for the activity. I'll go on to Tuesday here, and let's add another activity to the system. Let's say that I did some ALB Ohio survey work again, and I did that for 4 hours, and in this day I used the ToughPad and the Toyota Tacoma. But let's also say that I did some work for a different project. Maybe I did iTree streets analysis for Atlanta, and on that particular project I did not use my truck. I only used the Panasonic ToughPad. So I'll just unselect the Tacoma and hit the OK button, and now that activity has been logged. The last thing I want to bring to everybody's attention is if I go ahead and choose an absence project, and perhaps I had vacation for a particular day, you'll notice that the equipment menu is no longer there. For absences, we don't need to assign equipment to them, so it isn't even presented as an option. And so there I've started working on this particular sheet, and I have used my Toyota Tacoma on some activities. Other activities I didn't. When I go to mark this for pending approval, you'll see that it will ask me to enter my equipment usage, and it knows from before my starting mileage, and in this case it defaulted my ending mileage because I've used this particular timesheet in some past testing and examples. This would normally not be preloaded for you, and instead you can just type in what your actual ending mileage is. When I save this timesheet, and it gets approved by my supervisor, the next week when I go to fill out more time, the starting mileage for my next week's timesheet will auto default to the ending mileage of this week's timesheet. If I needed to make an adjustment to it, I can go in and make adjustments to my equipment usage under this menu here, where I can choose my equipment usage. All right, so let's take a look at what this actually looks like on the reports that we can produce. So I'll go over to the My Team page, and I will go ahead and just choose only myself and only for this particular weekend. So I only have one timesheet listed, and I'll just go ahead and generate this particular report. And we can see that I still have my summary sheet at the top, and then the next sheet is my actual timesheet view where I have my 3 activities that I worked on over the week, and then below that is the equipment, and it's displaying what my start mileage was, what my end mileage was, and how many hours each day of the week I utilized that equipment. That's all there is to it. So as employees have equipment associated with their profiles, they can then choose that equipment when they're filling out their timesheet, and they can mark what they used. And most times we're hopeful that it'll be more or less the same equipment each activity, but they do have that additional flexibility to turn on and off equipment on an activity by activity basis. Now, as a supervisor, I may have to manage this assigned equipment to my employees. And so if I go in and I'll edit this particular user, and I'll click on the equipment tab, and you can see what is listed here. And in this case, this employee currently has a 4-wheeler, the Toughpad, and the Tacoma. But you can also see a Ford F-150 that's in pink. That's a past piece of equipment that I've had associated with this particular employee. And it's been deactivated, so it is no longer actively being used by that employee, but it is still associated with the employee for the purposes of past timesheets. If I were to run a timesheet from 6 months ago, for example, I need that equipment information. So it is still in the database, it's just marked as deactivated. And we demonstrate that here. And if a time comes when I give the employee a new piece of equipment, so perhaps I have another Toyota, perhaps a 4Runner this time, and it's a truck, I can add that equipment over to that employee record, and then I can go ahead and I can deactivate the Toyota Tacoma. So now this user has a Toyota 4Runner associated with their profile rather than the Tacoma or the F-150. That's all there is to it. If you are in a spot where your employees are trading equipment, a truck is given to one employee and then it's moved over to a new employee, then it is going to be the supervisor's responsibility to go into the system and update the records and mark that piece of equipment from one employee to the other simply by just adding the equipment to the second employee. You can reuse the same SAP ID number, and the first employee would then need to have their profile adjusted and have that piece of equipment marked as inactive, so they will no longer have it as an option to assign to their timesheets. All right, that's all there is to it for the equipment tracking piece. This is just a start. We are going to be working on a summary report that will give a similar to the hour summary report. We'll give a full equipment summary report. But for now, the equipment usage is just embedded at the bottom of each user's individual timesheet. All right, everyone, thank you very much. Let us know if there's any questions. Share feedback with me, please. And I want to thank you all for your time. Take care.